Hey, good morning. Hey, thanks for coming out. It's a cold, beautiful morning. Great to have many of you guys here. If more come in, I may grab some extra chairs just to the back. It's great to see you this morning. Obviously, I'm Adam Greer. Most of you I know. I'm the principal of the Rhetoric School. I've been here for quite a few years. My wife and I have been a part of the school since '99. We have our oldest graduated from Caldwell, and he's about halfway through college, and we have 3 more here, and then one that's in Page School this year for various reasons. But so we've been a part of Caldwell for a long time. I'm just going to talk for a couple of minutes and then introduce. This is Julie Gazmarian, who will be kind of leading our conversation this morning. We actually have exams at the high school, and my class is having their exams, so I'm going to pop in and out a little bit while she's talking, just to check on my kids. But then I'll be back as we have some time for Q&A at the end, which I hope will be a rich time where we can answer the questions that you may have. It's interesting just being a dad, really being in education now for over 20 years. I taught at Caldwell University for a number of years. I've been at Caldwell now for about 13. I don't ever, in my lifetime, I don't ever remember a time where this topic of sort of college and college admissions has ever been at the level of stress that we're at now. Lucy Anderson is here, and Lucy has said to me, we're literally about 100% of my kindergarten interviews now, we talk about college. And it's amazing, but it's a little bit of the culture we live in, and maybe why you're here today. And so really our hope today is to be able to paint a little bit of a bigger picture, you know, and to put you guys at ease. One of the things, there's lots of things I love about our high school. I love high school kids. I feel honored to be able to work at a school like Caldwell. We have about 200 kids in our high school. Ms. Gazmarian and I, our desks are within shouting distance of one another, and so we just kind of talk all day. But we have a continual flow of students. In my office, in Julie's office, our doors are never closed. And those kids come in again and again and again during the day just to keep that conversation going about schools they're looking at, schools they're applying to. We'll tell you more about the current senior class. They're really pretty amazing. We have 48 seniors. We had one young man yesterday who submitted his 17th college application. I think that's a record for us. Our kids are being accepted to schools all over the nation. We've had some international school acceptances this year. In terms of financial aid, are they over 1.6 now? $1.8 million has already been offered to our current senior class. So sometimes I know among younger parents, lots of rumors are out there. Hey, Caldwell kids are not going to college. Schools are not looking at our kids. And I really do want to put your mind at ease there as well. I think the better question, honestly, I really believe this as a dad and as a teacher and administrator, is how are your kids doing once they leave? Not where they're going, but how are they doing? How are they doing spiritually? How are they doing with leadership? How are they doing being independent learners? Are they staying in school? Are they doing well? How's their relationship with their siblings and their moms and dads and their teachers back to Caldwell? To me, those are the great questions to ask, is how are your graduates doing? And there's just lots and lots of stories I'd love to tell you. I don't have time today. But I'm thrilled to see how our graduates are performing, not just academically, they're doing really well, spiritually, in their communities. It's very, very encouraging. And so, without taking too much time, let me just pray for our time together. Again, thank you for being here. Please know it's a pretty casual time today. Feel free to ask questions. And then it's an ongoing conversation. So you can catch me or Julie or anyone at any time just to continue this conversation. Then Ms. Gazmarian will come up and introduce herself as well and begin to talk about it. So let's pray. Father, this day is yours. You have given it to us as a gift. It's a beautiful day. Thank you for life. Thank you for fellowship. Thank you for community. Thank you for our school. I think more than ever, I understand the rich blessing of being in a school where kids can work hard, they can learn, they can ask great questions, we can talk about truth and beauty, Christ and the gospel and redemption and glory and forgiveness. Lord, I just thank you for that. I thank you that we're a K-12 school. I love that we have the little ones and the medium ones and the big kids here. And even yesterday, watching third graders come upstairs and bless our high school kids with snacks and prayers and cards for their exams. The high school kids were just blown away. And I thank you for that. I thank you for these families, Lord, the great joy and challenge of being a parent. trying to trust you for our kids' future, but also trying to do all that we can. Lord, give us a lot of wisdom there as parents, I pray. I pray that we would cherish each day that we have with our children, help us to love them well, to train them up, Lord. Thank you for families that are partnered with us. Lord, I really do very sincerely thank you for Julie and her gifts, for our friendship, for bringing her to Caldwell this year. I love her passion. I love her relationships with her students. And Lord, I just pray even today as we come and talk a little bit bigger picture about colleges, that this would be a very hopeful time for our school and for these families. We pray this in Christ's name. Amen. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Guys, we do have coffee and water. Forgive me for not announcing that. If you need to jump up and grab a cup of coffee, please feel free. Restrooms are in the back.
Well, good morning. I am Julie, Gazmarian. Some of you, your faces look familiar, and I have talked to you, and others not, so welcome. When they asked me to do this, at first, when it was back, in September, October, I thought, okay, I didn't really think a whole lot about talking to elementary and middle school, mainly parents. But then, as the time became closer, I started thinking back at the summer. And for the past 3 years, I went through a certification, and the capstone of the certification was through Harvard. And it was a college to be accredited college advisor. And the capstone is you go to Harvard for 5 weeks, and you meet with, there was 100 of us high school counselors, and there was probably 200 plus college admission officers. And you come together, and it was such an awesome, rich experience, but at the same time, it fired me up even more because it really made me realize how much the college admission process has become not only a business, but an extreme amount of stress on our students and our families that really does not need to be there. So today, what I want to do is kind of talk a lot about what we talked through this summer, and they really did start with middle school, even elementary. One of the pictures that they gave us that I thought was very helpful to me was a bicycle. And what our society talks about is the back wheel of the bicycle. And the back wheel of the bicycle are things that you can measure: the GPAs, the rankings, the SAT scores, all the things that are kind of the driving force and the driving stress. And yes, those things are important, and those things have a great proportion in this. But the thing that is most concerning in our society and that no one is really talking about is the front wheel, and that's the driver. And that is, what is your child's resilience? What is their work ethic? Where are they going? Can they set a goal and finish the goal? One of the facts that no one wants to talk about is there is 100 college students a day across the U.S. that are dropping out of college. And it's not because of that back wheel. They had the GPA, they had the class ranking, but they didn't have the front wheel skills. And so today, that's really what I want to talk to about, especially the younger, the elementary, the middle school. This is your time of college prep, is the front wheel. Get those skills up at the front as strong as possible, so when they are in high school, GPA matters, SAT, ACT scores matter, but they're going to have the drive, the independence, the confidence, the study skills in order to kind of drive where they want to go. So with that, we'll get started. Okay, before we get started though, I want to make sure we're all on the same page. And this is kind of the assumption that I am coming to with you. And that is that God has entrusted, these are His children, He's entrusted with us to raise as parents. And with that, we want them to be well-adjusted individuals, able to go off for their future into adulthood successfully. And also, and this is probably where we're really going to spend a lot of our time, is really getting to know who our students are, our children, who they are. What are their gifts? What are their weaknesses? And giving them tools along the way. You will hear forever, this is my favorite verse. So, Jeremiah 29:11, you will hear. Okay, why all the college hype? You know, I have two daughters, and one that's 24 and one 21, and I can honestly say when they were in elementary, I really didn't think much of college. I mean, it just, in the last 10 years, the amount of hype has just increased. One of the biggest reasons, there are more in the last 10, even the last 5 years, the increase of students that are going to college is increasing about 10%. So the spots at a college are filling up faster. Colleges have more to be able to choose from. Number 2 is a huge one. And on the college side, the college admission reps, not that they laugh, that's not, they don't laugh, but they see the whole college process so differently from us on the other side of it. And we will talk about that. But there's a lot of myths out there about the whole college process. And this one is one that really fires me up. It has become a business. You know, now we have the whole AP system. We have to pay to take the AP. Colleges aren't going to accept an AP class unless it used to be a 3. Now more and more colleges are going to a 4 or 5. Many of the more elite colleges aren't even accepting an AP class. But if your school offers it, you are compared by what your school offers. So that is one thing. You are blessed to be at Caldwell, where they offer that rigor, but they only offer 4 or 5. So a student that wants to go to an elite school, a college is going to want to see that they're taking probably 3 or 4 of those APs. Public schools, if you are offered 30, your junior, senior year better be almost all APs. Okay, on the college side, they're saying, we're not impressed by students coming in with a ton of the AP. It's not thinking. They can take a test. It's a lot of information that is skimmed, and then you have to bring it together on a test. And this, I laughed, and it was kind of embarrassing. Caldwell had hired me before I went up to Harvard. And so I wanted to promote Caldwell instead of my previous school, so I had everything changed to Caldwell. Well, it was a classical school, and they found out probably about a week in that I was at a classical school. All of a sudden, I became very popular with the college reps because that's what they loved. Because they said, classical schools, students are taught to think. They can think, they know what they know and why they know what they know. And they are very encouraging that. So the way it worked is at lunchtime, you would sit down and people would come up. Well, the first week I was pretty lonely, you know. I was just, would just chit chat. But by the second, and all the rest of the time, I had all these reps asking me questions. So I was going back to my room and really reading more and more classical information. So it was kind of fun, but the College Board is the driver of that, the APs. You know, they've come out with AP preps. They've come out with the AP system. Now you have to, when you go take an SAT test, you have to send $9 to have that test sent to any college. Then you have to send more money to have your AP score sent to that college. I mean, it has just become such a frenzy, and it has nothing to do with education, really. So, you know, not only with College Board, I mean, I'm picking on College Board, but you will have prep tests,
when you get to that level, we can talk about college, the SAT preps. There's other means of doing that. There's one right now that we're trying out with a few students. I want to see how it goes. That a group of professors came together and did a prep, and it's free and it's online. And what I've seen so far, I'm very impressed because colleges are seeing we've got to do something about this hype. The whole this is the big one too, is the U.S. News. Okay, I just really want you to see the U.S. News reports on the top colleges, in the world. And I'll have parents that will come in and say, I want them to go to this, business school or this whatever, because of U.S. News. This is how they are ranked. This is, okay, the first one is every college is ranked by another college, and literally it's drawn out of a hat. So a college out in California might pick, I don't know, UNC Asheville. How much would a college out in California know about UNC Asheville? But 25% of that ranking is based on that college review. Okay, the second one, how much resources are faculty? Resources at a large public university are going to go for research. How much does that help your undergrad, freshman, sophomore in the classroom? It means your professor is going to be researching and your child's going to be taught by a TA. 90% of your public universities now, undergrad, you're going to be taught by a TA. My daughter and my son-in-law both were TAs, and both said, we feel like we should write an apology letter to their parents because they had no right teaching. It wasn't, they're not teachers, but it did pay their master's education. And so, the professor, and that's a whole lot cheaper for a school to have a grad student teaching and having their professor in researching and making money. So, 20%, and this one I like, 20% graduation retention. How many kids are graduating? The thing I don't like is it's in 6 years, for a 4-year degree. So, I'm not sure that that's a really good deal. Retention's important. How many students are coming back their sophomore year? I like that one. 15 is selectivity. Okay, this is another. Okay, I'll confess. I went to a conference, and the high school counselors can go on this side, and the college counselors go on this side to the workshops. Well, I kind of already heard all the high school ones, and I really become friends with the Belmont rep, and she's like, come on, you can come with me. So, okay. So, I know I'm not supposed to. I did pray and ask for forgiveness. But what I found out was it was a marketing one. And a college, a very elite college, I'm not going to say the college because I am on tape, was presenting. And they had said they bought the result from the SATs and sent out cards, 95,000 cards, to any student with a 1350 and above. Well, this is a very, very elite college. They received back 83,000 of those. They never read an application unless the student had a 1420 or better. Think of the money, times $75 an application. They accepted 1,200 students. It's money. It is a business, and that's where the kids get a frenzy. So, they go to school and say, you're never going to believe it. I got a card, and they said that they want me to apply. And this is probably one of the top 5 universities in the country. So what student wouldn't? And what parent wouldn't say, wow? But it's a business. That has nothing to do with the kids. And so then that student goes and is all fired up, And the other students that aren't getting cards are saying, what's wrong with me? And there's nothing wrong with this student. So we have to keep that in mind. And that is what you're going to hear me over and over and over say. We have to find the college fit for your child. And it doesn't necessarily, it's going to look different for every child. But there's no one school out there that is going to promise a successful child. You know, it really is about the fit. And then the other two is the development money and the faculty salary. And you know, if I'm going to send my child for a ranking, I hope they all make a good living, but that's not how I'm going to base if it's the best school or not. So that's a little, when you see those U.S. News, you can think of me because I go in a rage every year when they come out. Okay, so how do they make their decisions? You know, what is important to them? Yes, the GPA is going to be important. The rigor of the class, the goal is that your child in the top level that they can achieve in A or B. That for some students is going to be more the college prep general course, not an honors. Some of it is going to be an honors, and some it's going to be an AP or an advanced. There's other things that we can do besides the AP to show that rigor in junior, senior year. We can talk about that. And then the standardized testing. As of right now, the majority of the schools are still wanting that standardized. Some schools aren't, but that's kind of a rigor too. Because if you're not sending your score and it's optional, then they're really going to want to see a strong rigor, and they kind of know that you're probably not, your SAT scores are probably not that high. So I'm not sure it's a real benefit when they say you don't have to, because they kind of read into it. This is the one that you can do something about, and this is the stage of the college prep that I really, really, really ask you to stay at, is figuring out who your child is, what is their passion, and this is what they're going to say, is what are they going to offer to our college campus. Because with the more and more students that are going to college, they have more to select from. And in order to have a vibrant campus, I always think of it as buckets. They have to have musicians, they have to have athletes, they have to have art students, they have to have history majors. And my job is to help, and I don't know the right word, I always say the hook, but kind of how to package and how to bring that student off just a transcript and into one of those buckets. And that's what we will do in the high school, starting in the 9th grade. And we'll talk about that. 9th grade is helping them start figuring out how am I wired, and what do I want to participate in and be what are my passions. Sorry. Sure. That's fine. I don't know if you guys hear me. Okay. So this is at the beginning. We tend to want to flip the triangle up, but really all the work, the hard stuff that really, really matters right now are in that K through 8. Exploring what are they, who is your student, kind of the what do they enjoy, what don't they enjoy, what comes really natural to them, what doesn't, what are some tools that we need to really work on, and then discover how. And that is a huge one. Instead of 3 soccer camps this summer, maybe think of do 2, but do one that is exploring something that is a natural gift of theirs. And I'll give you some examples. And in probably the next 2 weeks on my page, on the web page, I'm going to start Miss Weird. I'm probably weird. I don't have an intern. and they are accumulating a lot of different activities just in Greensboro and even outside of Greensboro. You know, if your child enjoys this, you may want to look into this, that kind of thing, to give you some resources. And then as they come in and as we find them, we will keep that updated. And then the last one is high school, is the plan. And that is, once we know about your student, what they enjoy, then it's, you know, who are you and what is the best fit for you? What college is the best fit? The school, in school, we kind of, learning style is huge. And especially the earlier you can figure your child's learning style out, the better. I had a daughter, my youngest daughter, and she has an audio processing. In about 4th grade, we kind of figured it out. You know, after her first 7 years of me giving instructions and her doing the first one and not doing the second two, and then getting in trouble because she wasn't listening to me. Well, about 4th grade, we found out she processes about 30% of what she hears. So she wasn't hearing it. And so we had to find tools. And one of the best tools out there, if you have a student like that just has a hard time listening to a teacher talk and writing down notes, is the Smart Pen. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but it's a pen that you just click the button and it records everything that is in the classroom, and it comes on a pad, and you write, and as you write, it still records, but then you go back and you can touch any word, and the recorder will start right where that word left off. So she, you know, she is a junior in college and still has her Smart Pen, and you know, she has to use that. That's her tool. But she went from a very, very frustrated, always in trouble child, because her mother was, you know, convinced she was just being defiant, and to a very successful student. You know, it's tools. So the ARC is another, Jill Fairburn is a great resource. I mean, you're blessed to have a resource like Jill Fairburn. And so if your child is struggling now, start finding those tools, especially the earlier the better. By middle school, then when they get to high school, we'll know that and be able to kind of accommodate for those, and they will still have the GPAs and the, you know, in the rigor that are going to be important. We've kind of already talked about all of those. This one is important to the learning about, and we'll talk about that, how important reading is. Reading's huge. If we have a reader, I can almost guarantee their SATs are going to be higher. When I have these students that hate reading, never read, I can almost guess their SAT, ACTs are going to be lower because so much of the whole learning process is reading. So find out, you know, if you have one that just hates reading, find out what makes them tick, what do they enjoy, and get books on that. But really, really encourage a reading time and help them develop that love. Outside, routines are huge, family time, and that's one thing too that I would say the younger, because the connections, these kids, they get beat up sometimes at school just in the feeling of everything's hard, nothing's fun. That family time routine, the younger, because they are middle school, high school, if you don't have that connection young of being able to be a safe place when you come home. You know, I have a couple this last week that came in, you know, with the exams and just kind of falling apart. And it's not a soft place at home to be able to just fall apart. And so the softer you have that at home, if he's younger, it really is gonna help, because the anxiety, unfortunately, with our society, the anxiety is gonna rise the older they get in those high school years. Homework time, this is a huge one too. Please develop those habits. I, again, was not great at this at home, my girls paid for it. But have homework time, homework space, because when they get in college, the kids that have that already built into them, that this is a home, you know, of course I have my homework time. You know, my four girls went to college and like, what were you doing? Why were you in the library? Because they had to learn that their freshman year. But in talking to them, they said, I really wish I would have had those habits. And that's one thing I love about Caldwell is you hear habits, that's what it is. It's a habit. So every day at the same time, if possible, in the same location, where they just start identifying that place as homework, it really will help scheduling in their high school years where they're bombarded with opportunities. You know, they want to join everything. They want to, you know, go out and do everything. But if they have that schedule, it really will help them. Playtime, please. That's one of the things that I'll give you a handout, and that's one of the things that the colleges want middle school parents to allow them to have playtime. Because you think about it, students today, they go to school, they're taught by adults until 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Then they will go to an after-school activity and they're taught by another adult. And then they make it to go home where dinner's already made from their adult parents. And then if they have a church activity or another activity by adult, they don't have time to just make up their own rules, their own games, you know, and that's sad. I mean, and then we wonder why when we ask them questions and they just give us the stare like, I have no clue. Well, they really don't, because they've never been asked to really come up with anything. So, and that's one thing I've loved with Mr. Greer, working in the high school, really student development is letting them lead and letting them come up with ideas and following through with them. But that's a big one. And then, of course, activities of interest. You know, if you have a little cook, let them cook once a week. You know, if they, whatever that interest, just really start trying to foster it. These are those soft skills. These are the front wheel is the setbacks. That's probably the biggest one. That in every article I'm reading, in every lecture I'm hearing, is how are children relating to setbacks? Are they able to get up, embrace the fall, learn from it, and get up? And that's a hard one as a parent. You know, when your child, you know, is really studying and you don't think the test was fair and you want to call the teacher, don't call the teacher. If you don't think it's fair, take your child with you. Encourage first your child to go talk to your teacher. And then, if that doesn't work, take the child with you. But at least they're seeing that you're modeling the whole communication of resolving the problem. But what's happening a lot of times now is our parents we want to fix the problem so Sally or Johnny are happy, but they're not learning anything from that. Setbacks are huge, and it's almost, this is probably too harsh of a statement, but it's almost like I want to celebrate when the child falls, because that's what makes them stronger, and that's what gives them the grit of being able to get up, gather themselves, and fixing it or moving on, but you're getting stronger every time. So kind of embrace those falls. And that's hard, I know, that's very hard as a parent. How does my child relate to others? That's a big one too. In this technology world, we're relating by our thumbs, but we're not relating in communications. Colleges now are, that's why you're seeing more and more interviews, is they're seeing, we want a campus full of individuals that want to be here and participate, not by their thumbs. I mean, you could take online classes for that. And I would say by the time your children, if you have elementary, I almost think it's going to be a mandatory interview. More and more colleges are just going to it. And of course, the last one is the reading. The study habits you kind of talked about, but the reading is big. Time management is huge. Huge, huge, huge. And I see it in our high school. I probably have 6 or 7 that I'm so concerned about. Just no organization, time management. And you put that, you know, right now they have a home to go to that somebody's cooking, somebody's waking them up, somebody's next year, not even next year, we're talking, what is this, January, we're talking 8 months from now? I mean, are they all of a sudden gonna wake up on their own and go to class on their own and do laundry on their own? You know, it's just, they transit, and that's where you can see why 100 students a day are dropping out. And you think that's not my child, but just because they have that back wheel strong GPA and class ranking, that's not going to drive them very far. My previous school, at Christmas, I always have a big gathering and have it back. And this year I did in our new home here, and I had 33 come, and 30 out of, we had 48 graduate last year. They're in college. 6 are not returning second semester. Of those 6, 4 were in the top 10% of the class. And it breaks my heart, but I can't say I was surprised. You know, they were the ones that, the application, the whole process, moms were great at it. But they really didn't own it at all. So they're all going to be living at home again, which is so sad because that back wheel is so strong and capable. The front wheel wasn't. These are just a couple ideas. The whole, you know, what do they enjoy doing? And then always look at what they enjoy doing with what is their favorite subject, because those two correlate usually. You know, go to the animal shelters and let them work in an animal shelter, you know, in the middle school once a week in the summer or something. But just start to get them thinking about how has God given me, why has He given me the passion of what I enjoy, and how has He gifted me with the interest, you know, my subject, what am I good at? And then look for the opportunity. This one, this cooking and writing, we actually just got an invitation, that's why I put it on there. And this was a girl, and she's 12, and she loves to cook. And she's a great writer. We just got this elaborate invitation to this dinner that we will be attending. But that's what she's doing. And she really wants, she thinks she wants to be a party planner. She might be. So, anyways, but it's fun, and what's the word? I'm not big on self-esteem, but just the confidence, that's the word, in this little girl is amazing, because she is not, she's really kind of quiet and kind of awkward for being 12 and that stage, but the confidence and how proud she is really, it's neat to see. So those are just some simple ideas. Okay, now we're going to kind of talk about the high school, because that's kind of where I want you to focus, but where you're going, and I think it always helps to know kind of where you're going. In 9th and 10th grade, we will have counselor meetings as parents, and with Miss Weirdo right now is helping me with 9th and 10th. Naviance is a system that we use. Tons of information about the college process, but resource, there's SAT preps, there's ACT preps on there. And then 11th and 12th we'll really use it, because that is how we electronically send everything to the colleges. So it's a really neat system, and it just continues to grow. So by the time you guys are up there, who knows what it's going to be doing. We'll start with the personality and the career assessments. they will take a PSAT. 10th grade takes both, and they take the plan. 9th grade, they don't take the plan, but these are practice SAT, ACT tests. So a lot of parents will say, in 9th grade, I think my child should take the SAT. No. Just wait until 11th grade, because these are practice tests, but the results of these are so helpful because you can really see where your child is struggling or where their strengths are. So you're blessed to be in a school that pays for that. And then the extracurricular activities by that time. And again, remember, they are looking at the passion of a child. They're not looking for children that can do everything because they're looking for their buckets. And so a lot of freshmen will come in there and be like, okay, I've got to be on student council, and then I'm going to be in the play, and then I'm going to play through sport for my college resume. Will that look good? No, that looks exhausting. And it's like, who is your child and what do you enjoy? And yeah, go for it. Go 100% for it. But you don't have to do everything. You still need that family time, that homework time. So that would be 9th, 10th. 11th grade has a bad name. Oh my gosh, it's the hardest year. Well, in some ways it is. To be honest, in some ways it is. It's a tough. The APs are going to start in 11th grade, and the rigor does pick up. And so that's why the foundation is so important before then. But they will take their PSAT. 11th grade, it is for the national merit. If they score, above, I think it's a 213, 215, something like that, you go into a national merit, which really does open up doors for students with scholarships. And Mr. Greer's son was a national merit and is on a full ride to Auburn. So, it really is a great, great thing. SAT, ACT, please don't worry about it until second semester. Let them get in that first semester of 11th grade, which is going to be tougher, and just concentrate on their grades because it truly is what's most important. Second semester, they will take one of each, and then they can retake it. They have 6 more times that can take it. So most students, you don't see a huge jump. I see a big jump from the first time they take it to the second. Sometimes the third. I have yet to see when a student takes it a 4th time, it usually decreases. It is what it is. You just can't make it's just relax. And then the college fairs is fun. We've had about 25 colleges this year, and I just hope to just keep increasing that. Where those college reps that come to Caldwell are the college reps that read your students' applications. So it is such a service to put a contact, and we talk about interview skills, and we will really prep the students that really that's my first choice, and try to have them be able to have a more one-on-one with the college rep. So that will only grow. That I take really serious of getting out there and meeting college reps and getting them here. And so that's fun. Then November is really kind of the kickoff of the junior college. And for the next, from November until they graduate, we see each other a lot. We have family meetings, individual meetings, and then this year, for the first time, we're taking a college trip, which I'm really excited about. We're going to go and see 6 schools, and hopefully that will grow. We're taking 23 students, and we're going to say South Carolina, USC, Clemson, Furman, Wofford, Presbyterian, and Anderson. So 2 large, 2 medium, 2 Christian, and just help students to figure out what their fit is. It doesn't matter if it's those 6 schools. It helps them figure out whether this seems too big, or this seems, too small, or too far away. That's always a big one. I always laugh because I get these. I send out this questionnaire, and I'll have students, as distance and as far away as possible. On the college trip, are we almost there? No, we have 7 more hours, but it really does help them put perspective, because they don't know. I mean, how would they know? So I love the college trip and what usually comes after that. And then in the summer, I do workshops with the application and the essay, so when they come back their senior year, they're ready, they apply, they go on a wonderful trip, and hopefully not have to think too much about those college applications. And then the scholarships, and I guess that's probably the next slide. Yeah, we do the other one is the mock interview in October while everybody else is taking that PSAT. The seniors this year we started, which we will continue as fun, and they do a mock interview, and we have parents, or really we have had a mixture of people that have experience in interviewing, and the students dress up, suits or ties, and just business attire, and come in, and we prep them ahead of time on kind of how to do an interview. They do an interview, and then they get, the interviewer does a sheet on it and gives them comments and suggestions and feedback. And then following that, we do a career panel, so they can sign up for different careers they're interested in. We get people in that field that talk about it, and then students have a way of communicating and asking questions. So that was a good day. And then November, February, right now we're in the midst of scholarship hunts, and that's where 1.8. But I really, and this sounds so greedy, probably. I mean, I'm thankful for 1.8, but I really want to get more closer to the 3 million, and we'll see what God provides. But this class has been great, and then they graduate. So these are the final questions of really, when you're thinking college, it's not getting them into one particular school. It's going to be more, by that time, what college it will be the best college for my student to be successful with their learning style, with our financial package. Not unfortunately, but you, as you're sitting here, when I was sitting in high school, I was thinking a 4-year degree. Even with my oldest daughter, master's was kind of on the horizon. Now it is master's. I mean, the undergrad degree is almost equivalent to the high school degree when I was. I'm much older than you guys. So by the time if you have real little ones, you really do have to think of master's. Well, master's is a whole other plan, because master's is, the master program, to get into a master program is, what was your class ranking in your undergrad? Were you in the top 25%? What was your GPA? And what did you do? What internships did you do? Well, if you go to Harvard undergrad, you've got to still be in the top 25%. You've got to still have the GPA, because colleges understand that professors are professors and have the exact same amount of training. They may be at a different institution, but the education that a student is getting is going to be very similar. We learned that the hard way. My daughter went to interview with UNC and UVA, and there's one other one. I can't think of the other one. Boston. And as she said in her interview, she said, "You mean I went to this program at Virginia Tech because it was ranked and rated so well. If I had gone to a less ranked school and had been higher ranking, I would have had a better opportunity." All 3, yes ma'am, that's correct. I mean, no hesitation. And so I really pushed that matter this summer at the institute, the Harvard Institution, everything, absolutely. It's what did they do in the undergrad? Not where did they go, what did they do? So that's a whole nother element of thinking that undergrad, especially if you know they're going to need to go into graduate school, where's the best fit that they can be successful. And for some students, that is Harvard, and that is great. But if it's not, I just don't want you to think that if they don't go to Harvard, they're not going to make it. That's absolutely wrong. So, internships, huge. And in fact, in high school even, they can do internships, huge, because colleges want students in and out in 4 years, because the longer they stay, that means a freshman can't come in. They make their money in their freshman, sophomore year, because they're using housing, they're using food plans. So if you can get a college confidence that I know what I want, I will be here 4 years and out, that's huge. UNC is really pushing that matter right now, for the 4 years and out. And then who will best prepare? That's the 25% rule. Okay? And finally, remember our goal. Mr. Maine to raise his children he entrusted into a healthy, well-adjusted children who are able to transition into adulthood. Okay? Amen. And I do have some handouts that I'll put over here, I guess, at the front. This, I also, and not that I have any endorsement, I have just really enjoyed this book. That if any of you are interested in reading it, and it's by Kenneth Ginsburg, Ginsburg. A great, it's just been a great resource, but it also has great ideas of kind of, not activities, but the where kind of what we've talked about today, of what you can do to strengthen that frontal skill. Okay? So I want to open it up if you have questions or.
If a child takes SAT more than once, does the second test replace the first test with the college look at all?
No. The way that works is they super score it, so if you take it twice, they would take the highest, it's critical reading, math, and writing. They would take the highest score, like if you did better in critical reading here, and the second time you did better in math, but not so much in critical reading, they would take those two scores and combine them. So far, schools are still only looking at the critical reading and math. They want to see a high writing, but for admission purposes, they're still just looking at those two.
So you're the best of whatever you did.
If you do two, and that would be my recommendation, is only sending, you don't want a college to see that you took it for the 5th time, because their job is also, they want to make a fair playing field, which I respect. Some students can only afford to take it once. So in their mind, would it be fair to give this admission spot to this student that could take it 5 times to get that score, or give it to this student that same score but only took it once? So they will say, send us all your scores. I say, hold your scores until you're done taking and send the best scores.
I want to say, I know we'll jump in too. Ms. Gazmarian mentioned the fact we had 20-some schools on our campus this fall. We had reps come over, and we had the blessing of having lunch with just about every one of those reps. Really talking about Caldwell, kind of what's a little bit unique about Caldwell, talked a lot about senior thesis, talked about our public speaking classes, debate in 10th. It was so encouraging to hear the feedback from these colleges, and I just want to emphasize a couple of things. I believe probably every representative outside of our solicitation talked about their university's longing to see independent students. To see, they said again and again and again, we just don't want to see high school kids that cannot advocate for themselves, that they're not making the contacts with us. They really want to see kids become independent learners, independent thinkers, kind of outside of parents doing everything.
We even had one go so far to say, when a parent calls instead of the student, he just wants to put a big black X on the board. because the child's not ready, you know, and they're seeing it on that end.
Yeah.
And they just don't want to deal with that.
We've heard that a lot, and then I think we'll jump in. Last thing I'll say is, I cannot tell you the positive feedback we received as I talked about senior thesis, as I talked about moral defense. They just said there are so few schools doing that now. And, you know, again, high AP scores are good for some things, but they said it does not mean strong critical thinking. And so just great conversation. It's very, very affirming. I think what classical schools are trying to do. So I just want to share that with you. Sorry.
I think you've sort of answered my question. It was, why the interest in the classical education when you visited the conference? Number one. Number two, how do they measure that at point of interview? And number three, how do the classical educated kids, students, stack up in terms of resilience, graduation rates, and success beyond college? Because that's the main thing, is these kids are graduating, and they're not acclimating into the workforce. They're not getting the jobs they want. The economy has some impact on that, but the quality of education as well.
Right, right. And I think that's what they are saying. That is what they're saying is, and I don't have the actual percentage. I would love to, I'll research it. If I find it, I will send it out. But that is what they were saying is the classical students were the ones that they were seeing the most successful in the classrooms because they weren't just memorizing a bunch of facts. They could apply the facts. They could articulate the facts. And the thinking skill, the critical thinking skills was the biggest subject matter thrown on, was being able to really take information, understand it, and apply it. And that's a concern right now, that students aren't able to do that. So yeah, that was kind of the...
I think as classical education is around a bit longer, it's still a fairly new movement. You know, our school is almost 20 years old. We finally have graduates now that are married, that have children. We have graduate teaching here this year. We have a PhD student at Wake Forest University in chemistry. We have a young lady who is now a vet. Yeah, I think as years go by, we can get more and more data like what you're asking. It's a great question because ultimately I agree with you. You know, are they being successful in the workforce? You know, how about in their own families, their marriages? You know, those are the things that I think are most important. Not just how's that freshman year. That's important. But how are they doing as a 25-year-old, 30-year-old? Are they investing in their community? Are they investing in their church? Are they still walking with the Lord? Those kinds of questions.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can echo that. My dad's been a college professor for 40 years, and I hear repeatedly about his frustration about his students not being able to think.
Yeah.
You know, they just want to know what's on the test, so
Right.
it's very realistic. But my question was, in all my research on Common Core, I've seen that, from what I understand, is the SAT will be geared towards some of that information. How will that affect us?
The ACT is going to be geared towards that.
Okay, how would that affect our students who are not on that curriculum? Does it factor at all?
What would you say?
That's a good question. That's a good question. You know, in the larger government school, they're so driven that a lot of things are geared towards those tests. The ACT, you know, I'm 48 years old. I never heard of the ACT. Even up to a few years ago, most kids in the Southeast had not heard of the ACT. The ACT has now kind of made its way more nationwide. So Caldwell kids are taking the SAT and the ACT. Colleges will use both. I think more and more we're going to go to the ACT. Caldwell kids, they're kind of both. I mean, some tend to do better on the ACT. I think with that strong humanities background, the ACT includes science, the SAT does not. The science section of the ACT is more critical thinking than it is actual, what's this chemical formula. And so our kids are doing well on it. The new Common Core is driven a bit by the ACT. There's a lot of people up in arms on Common Core. I actually think we're going to see some pretty radical changes to it in the next 2 years. You know, it's interesting, with 48 seniors this year, we will have probably 2 National Merit finalists. Probably 2. We will have probably 1 or 2 more that have gotten to that level down from that. Rimsley High School may have 1. Northwest may have 1. Last year we had a National Merit finalist. She's on full ride in Kentucky this year. Our kids have seemed to do well with standardized testing. You know, it's a game. We want our kids to do well. We're not trying to teach everything to it.
Yeah.
You know, are our kids at a disadvantage on the ACT? I doubt it. But I think some time will tell as the Common Core continues to land.
And that's the other thing. I mean, the SAT and the ACT change
Yeah,
so often that, you know, what is a concern today probably won't be a concern tomorrow. Because they're rewriting it, it's going to be all new next year.
It's almost like trying to grab sand.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing is, as universities have moved away from AP, because some of those critical thinking skills, every few years they rewrite AP classes. And so this year, the new AP European is out, and their emphasis is fewer topics, we're going deeper, and we're pushing critical thinking. I just thought that was really interesting to read. And so, you know, my youngest son is in 6th grade. When he gets up, my guess is we'll still be doing AP. My daughter's in 1st grade. I'm so old. By the time she gets up to high school, I actually think APs will be gone. I think something else will have replaced it. Something else will come up. And so everybody, I'm talking about colleges right now, everyone right now is really trying to figure out this education thing. So there's articles online every single day now. And so part of what we're trying to do is not panic, trying to do what we do really, really well, not push colleges aside. I mean, there are some classical schools, not many, but have said, we're just really going to do our own thing. And so we're not trying to do that. We're trying to really listen to colleges. What are you looking for? What do you want? Trying to sell what we do well, but also still really focus on the beauty of education, the depth of education, making connections. You know, our high school kids, their English and their history and their public speaking is all kind of integrated. Separate classes, separate teachers, but integrated in content. They take an oral portion to their exam where before their class they're asked 2 questions. They have to answer it orally, and the questions are integrated, the history and the English. It's phenomenal to hear them study because they're sitting around this table, they're firing back and forth, they're talking about literature, talking about history, talking about culture, talking about theology. It's so cool that they're making these connections, and I just think more and more schools are losing that, and so we love that. We want to try to do that well. I'm going rambling, so I'll shut up.
But I would echo what Adam is saying in the sense that we do need to just focus on listening to what they want, but also doing what we do and do it well. And that's part of the whole importance of having the colleges on campus and showing them what we do and what we do well. As of today, every college that has been on campus that one of our students has applied to has been accepted. In South Carolina, we had 6 apply, 6 got in. And I really do believe it has to do with our students, you know, and educating the reps and who we are.
Hopeful students shine.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they just do. And so I grew up in a blue-collar family. I'm still a big believer. Look people in the eye and shake their hand and get to know them and talk to them. So I tell our juniors and seniors, you know, if you really, really like Clemson University, if you're very interested in Lee or W&L or Virginia Tech, get up there, tour the campus, meet some professors, shake their hand, talk to them, have lunch with them, get in the admissions office, and sell them on who you are. Not being arrogant, the Lord loves humility, but with confidence tell them about the education you receive. Tell them about your mom and your dad and your family and your siblings. That blows people away because so many kids are not doing that now.
And really, that is what sets them apart, because 90% of any college across the country, the applications they get on paper, those students could get in to their college. And so you have to set yourself apart. You know, it's not just the transcript. You've got to figure out how are you going to be on that college campus. And that is exactly, our students do the self-confidence, the advocating for themselves, huge. So, yeah, no, it has been so fun to be here because it's very different from where I've been in the last 14 years.
What are your thoughts on doing a community college a couple of years and then going to?
Question.
Yeah, that is, and you know, today's age with the finances the way they are, there's no problem with that.
So it's not hard to get accepted?
With a B or better, especially in the UNC system, they have a 2-year track with the universities in the system that you really do your first 2 years and all credits are transferred into one of the university systems. So that's becoming a very popular, and you know, it's a wise financial move. Yeah.
I think you'll see that more and
Yeah,
more,
I
just
do
given
too.
the cost of education.
And especially knowing that, you know, the students are going 6 years for a master's
Yeah.
instead of 4, yeah.
Yeah. I'll say too, I want you to, you know, even though we're a classical school, we talk about these things, I do want you to know we're currently offering 5 AP classes. We take those classes very seriously. I teach an AP Calc. My kids are taking a long exam right now. We do AP Gov, AP Lit, AP Stats, AP Latin. Last year we had a young man that sat for AP Micro and AP Macro on his own. Very strong student, made 5s on both exams. Strong student, but he did very, very well. We have now close to 20, I think, honors classes in our high school. And so even though we are a smaller school, 200 kids in our high school, we do offer a lot of those things that you will hear at bigger schools, just not as extensively. So again, we're trying to find that balance, you know, of doing both, doing it well, and really thinking through what is the best offering for our kids. Does it fit with our mission philosophy? And will it help them in the long run with life as well as college admissions?
Okay. Yes. I think maybe you said do you meet with every 9th and 10th grader?
Yes.
And is that something that parents are encouraged to?
Miss Weirda is really overseeing the 9th and 10th this year, and you're welcome to call her anytime and set an appointment if you wanted to. But she is more than welcome to do that. She's going in the classrooms right now and getting them on their naviance and starting their career assessments. And that first semester in 9th grade, we don't want to bombard them with, okay, you're in high school now, and we're going to talk about what career are you going to do? Because the transition to high school is enough, but second semester, 9th grade, you will get in there more. Okay, well that is all I have.
Thank you guys
No more
again.
question. Thank you for coming.